Demon Street. Welcome to a story you should never hear alone. What you're about to experience will haunt you for as long as you remember it. I warned you, but you chose to listen. Now I ask you, are you ready for what follows? Don't dare venture forward if you're afraid of the unknown, because this is no ordinary tale. It's something much darker, and hearing it will change you forever. Before we begin, take a moment. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. You'll want to be sure you never miss an update. Trust me, when this ends, you'll want more even if you don't know it yet. Now, let me take you somewhere you should have never gone. Let me take you down the Demon Street. It was just another ordinary evening when Jenna, a local photographer, walked into the old, forgotten part of the city. She had heard whispers of a cursed street, a place so drenched in darkness that no one dared speak its name. But Jenna was different. She was determined to capture the true heart of the city with her lens, no matter where it took her. And tonight, it led her to the Demon Street. The street was narrow, lined with old, crumbling buildings that whispered of decay and sorrow. The air was thick with an oppressive heaviness, the kind that made the skin crawl and the heart pound faster with every breath. The city was still, far too still, as though it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. But Jenna didn't notice. She was too focused on getting the perfect shot. As she raised her camera to capture the eerie glow of a street lamp flickering in the distance, something caught her eye, a shadow. It slithered across the cracked pavement, like a creature hiding just out of sight. She paused, her finger tightening around the shutter, but the shadow was gone. Dismissing it as a trick of the light, she turned back to the street lamp, her heart pounding, but this time, the chill in the air felt different. It wasn't just the cold. It was the feeling of being watched. Jenna quickly snapped a few more photos, hoping to get what she needed and leave. The silence felt suffocating now, heavier than before. That's when she heard it. A low hum, almost like a whisper, coming from deep within the street. She couldn't make out the words, but the sound was unsettling, like something was moving, crawling beneath the very foundations of the street, growing louder by the second. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. She should have left then, but she didn't. She moved further down the street, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The buildings seemed to close in on her, their dark windows watching with eyes she couldn't see. The air felt thicker now, suffocating, as though the very city was alive and hungry. Suddenly she froze. The shadow from before was back. This time it wasn't a trick of the light. It was moving toward her. Slowly, steadily, like it knew exactly where she was. Jenna's heart pounded against her chest as her fingers gripped the camera tightly. She wanted to run, but she couldn't. The whispering sound grew louder, and then, there it was. A figure stepped out from the darkness, a tall, thin shape that seemed to distort the very air around it. It had no face, only a dark void where its features should have been. And yet, Jenna felt the weight of its gaze, cold and malevolent. "Leave," a voice echoed in her mind, deep and jagged. "You should never have come here." Jenna stumbled backward, her breath ragged, but the figure didn't move, just watched. The street, once still, began to shift. The pavement cracked open, revealing dark, writhing tendrils that seemed to stretch toward her, pulling the street into something else, something not of this world. Jenna couldn't breathe, couldn't think, only move, faster and faster. But she couldn't escape the nightmare she had walked into. The figure began to fade into the shadows, but its voice lingered. "You are already a part of us now." She turned to run but found herself standing at the entrance to the street, staring at the same building she had passed earlier. The hum was gone. The shadows were gone. But something was wrong. Jenna looked down at her camera only to find the picture she had taken. All the photos showed nothing but darkness, black as night, with no trace of the street she had just walked. And then she felt it. The whispers. They were in her mind now, following her, crawling beneath her skin. And for the first time she realized the truth. She was never meant to leave. The nightmare you've just witnessed, it doesn't end with Jenna. It never ends. And as you sit here listening to this story, you might feel the same whispers, the same chills crawling up your spine. You might feel that something is watching, waiting for you to step into the Demon Street. But the question is, will you dare to go any further? Or will the whispers follow you like they followed Jenna? Make sure you subscribe. The story isn't over. Not yet. The curse that follows. The air felt wrong. There was a tension in the world that made the skin crawl, as if reality itself had been stretched too thin and was ready to snap. Jenna had thought she could escape. But now, every street, every shadow, every creak in the walls felt like the Demon Street was following her. And it was only a matter of time before the curse would claim her, as it had claimed so many others. Days passed, but the terror never left. Jenna tried to shake off the memory to convince herself it was just a nightmare, a trick of the mind, a shadow of fear. But deep down she knew the truth. She had been marked. That street, those whispers, those eyes, they had become part of her. It wasn't just in her mind. It was in the very fabric of her existence. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the void where the figure's face should have been. Every time she walked down the street, she felt the weight of something invisible, something ancient, following her steps, lurking just out of sight. But it wasn't until the whispers started again that she realized how far gone she truly was. The first time it happened was during a sleepless night, when the clock's ticking was the only sound in her apartment. Jenna was sitting by her window, staring out into the empty street below, when she heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible whisper, as though it was coming from the dark alley behind her building. She stood up slowly, her heart racing. The sound was back. It wasn't the hum from the street, no. It was something else. It was a voice, and this time it wasn't in her mind. It was real. The voice called her name, soft and patient, like an old friend, familiar and comforting, but there was something off about it. Something wrong. Jenna. She froze. The voice didn't come from outside. It didn't come from the walls. It came from inside her head, but it wasn't hers. And it wasn't alone. There were others. Countless voices, low and echoing, a cacophony of whispers that circled her, suffocated her. She could feel them moving in, crowding her thoughts, wrapping around her sanity. Jenna. Come to us. She tried to scream, but the sound lodged itself in her throat. Her body was no longer hers. It felt like something was inside her, pushing, pulling, bending her, forcing her to step away from the window to move toward the door. Her legs moved against her will, as if they had a mind of their own, carrying her down the dark hall toward the front door. And as she reached for the handle, she saw it. The figure, standing in the darkness at the end of the hallway. It was tall, impossibly tall, its limbs stretching far beyond what a human body could withstand. The void where its face should have been was still empty, but this time, it wasn't alone. Around it, dozens of shadows danced in the periphery, faces all lost, all waiting. They whispered in a language she couldn't understand, their mouths frozen in silent screams. You shouldn't have come back, Jenna. The figure's voice was a whisper, but it felt like it was roaring inside her skull. She staggered backward, terror seizing her chest. The figure started to move, its limbs stretching and contorting unnaturally, as though it was not bound by the laws of physics. The darkness around it grew thicker, darker, until it seemed to swallow everything, the light, the air, her very breath. She wanted to run, to escape, but it was as though the world itself had turned against her, trapping her in this nightmare. She stumbled backward, her eyes darting for a way out, but there was no way out. No escape. Not anymore. And then, just as her heart was about to explode from fear, it spoke again. You are already here. The words echoed in her mind, in her soul. They were alive. They saw her. Knew her. Suddenly, she was no longer in her apartment. She was standing in the middle of the demon street again, the cold pavement beneath her feet, the same oppressive silence closing in from all sides. But now there was nowhere to run. The street was alive. It pulsed with an ancient evil that had been waiting for her. And it was not just the street. It was her. The figure was there again, standing in the shadows, but now it was smiling, grinning, its empty void of a face shifting, becoming something darker, something alive. You heard the whispers, didn't you? It asked. Now you'll be one of us. Forever. The ground beneath her cracked, opening wide to reveal the same tendrils from before, creeping up like fingers, pulling her down, dragging her toward the depths of the street. The last thing Jenna saw before she was consumed by the darkness was her own reflection, staring back at her from the cracked pavement. But it wasn't her. It was the figure, its empty eyes staring directly into her soul. And then there was nothing. The demon street doesn't let go. Once it claims you, you are part of it. And now you are part of it too. The whispers will follow you as they followed Jenna. The shadows will move when you're not looking. And when you hear the name whispered in your ear, when you feel the eyes on your back, you'll know. Knows you. It is aware of you. And there's no escape. Not anymore. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe.